Hey, hey, hey. As we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and the day-to-day journey is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard for us to see our way through. Beyond the normal mundane or where unscripted dreams live, join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. We are the Unscripted Dream Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate, inspire our audience. So people, today's episode is literally about doing a lot versus doing enough. So when you think about doing a lot versus doing enough, I guess we need to define that first before we carry on. Um, you want me to say start it off, or
Yeah, I think you'll explain it better than I will.
okay? So when you think about perception, because this is on a whole different levels, they both have two different meanings, honestly. But when you think of from like a level of productivity, doing a lot is in my dictionary is like associated with being productive and ambitious versus doing enough is might be like seen as settling for mediocrity. So you're doing enough just to get by. I think both approaches have their advantages, most definitely. But it all depends on each individual circumstance or what scenario you're in. But doing a lot, I look at that as productivity, like you're putting yourself out there, running yourself completely thin, and then doing enough. It's just like, you know what? Those are my hours. I'm out.
That's interesting, Joe, because I actually see it the other way. This will be an interesting episode. So,
I said it's a duality
yeah,
in these in the meaning for both,
yeah.
because depending on the
S-
scenario.
So I look at it enough. Like, what's enough? Like, enough is completion.
Yep.
A lot is a lot. Like, I know people, they do a lot of stuff, but the quality of what they're doing is very low. But then
Can't
at the
be.
same time, I can know somebody that's doing enough and they're doing enough to do well. Like, so that's really, I guess the strength lends to the enough and the a lot as far as the action is more so based. I'm more so thinking about the quality of the actions that you're taking. Because you can shoot, bro. You can shoot a lot of jumpers, but are you
Yes.
making enough of them? Are you making enough? Are you making enough to stay on the team? Are you making enough to make the cut? Yep.
Hey
So
man, that's a
that's
great way
that's
to
how
look
I
at
see
it.
it.
Quality versus quantity. I like that.
Hey, every once in a while, I'll show Joe something he didn't see before.
Well, hey man, when you think quality versus quantity, man, like you said, focusing on doing a lot, man, may sacrifice the quality of your work or experiences, man, and doing enough. That's the importance of putting all your power or effort into achieving whatever that desired goal or outcome is, and then
Yeah.
you're doing it at a high standard.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about that is I see, like, you ever work with somebody and they're just everywhere, like they're just all over the place, right? They're doing a lot. They're doing a lot, but then it's the person, but then there's another person. There's typically somebody like me, um, who just like minds their business, does what needs to be done, and like keep it moving. Who's they're not doing like they're not all over the place where you can see them. They're kind of like just working in the back, like in the background, making things work. And it's kind of like that. Like I see somebody who's everywhere, but they want to be seen. So they're doing all this extra stuff. It's like the person who like posts on social media all the time and they're not posting, it ain't doing nothing. But but then it's the person who you'll see they'll like tweet, post, make a video or do something one time. And because the quality of what they're doing is so great, one video is enough. One post is enough. Instead of someone who's doing like volume, who has to do a lot just to get recognition. So I just want to kind of reiterate that it's okay to do it. Like it's cool to do numbers, but there's also value in just quality actions. But
Hey man, you know what
It
I
really,
call that, right? I call that the Gucci verse Jeezy way. Because when
oh,
you think about the Gucci man, he went on a run. He went on a rampage as far as mixtape after mixtape after mixtape. Don't get me wrong; these music projects he put out every month of the year seem like he had some bangers on there, but he also has some where you're like, I'm gonna skip a few of them, but I like this song on here. Versus when you think of someone like Jeezy, if you think about Thug Motivation, I'm talking about hip hop people. So when you think about Thug Motivation 101, man, and when that dropped, I walk down the street, everybody, you hear grandmas playing it, you hear uncles and aunties playing it, little kids playing and singing along. And this is a hip hop rec album, and everybody knew the words to every song out of this whole album. It was like equivalent to Tupac All Eyes on, if you like to listen to rap.
it's a classic. You're in high school, Joe.
Yeah, when that dropped, yeah, I
Yeah.
was in high school. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I know. No, listen, the only reason I know is because that's when I was listening to when I was driving to college, like when my parents were driving me to college for the first,
That
like as a freshman.
that was
That's
your
what I was listening to in
soundtrack?
the car. That's what I was listening to in the car, getting ready to get into the dorms.
You know what? If that's your soundtrack, my soundtrack was Kid Cudi
Cuddy.
and
Yeah.
what else came out that year? Kanye and T-Pain. But whatever. Let's
Mm.
get back to
What,
this.
what's Kanye? Is that home? Was that
Homecoming.
homecoming? Homecoming?
Homecoming. Well,
Classic. I've listened to
good
that this week.
life.
Yep. All right, man. I know we translate.
So
Classics,
yeah.
man.
So when you think about Marcus, when you think about doing enough, and clearly that's like what you like to dial in on, and that's what the model you build yourself upon as it appears. You don't think you take elements from what's considered doing a lot. Um, you know, you don't ever use those elements in certain capacities when you're, typically sticking to doing enough. Like for an example, say like, hey, I'm trying to outshine or I'm just trying to shine to get some recognition at my job. So they can actually give me some notoriety and, praise me for my efforts. Like you can do that by just doing enough, but don't you think it takes some characteristics from doing the most, I like to call it, or doing a lot to kind of like get that shine. Like maybe you have to put in that extra hour. And that doesn't necessarily mean that this isn't quantity work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying like, oh, I'm putting in all my time in all these other areas so much where I'm not really focusing on what I need to. I mean, you're just going up a few steps just to take your work a little bit further.
They kind of live together, like that terminology. But sometimes you go to work, like today, with the work, got a lot of stuff to do. You know, like
Right.
and there's not enough time to do it. So it's one of those things where yeah, sometimes not to be difficult. So yeah, sometimes you have to do a lot of things, but it's also understanding that like you can be everywhere. Like there's like making this podcast, understanding what goes into the podcast. So we have to do a lot of like there's a lot of stuff we have to do. It's not just show up, pick a random topic, and record the episode. Like there's a lot of work that goes into it. But once we do that work, which is a lot, just to continue to consistently do a show for, I mean, we don't even count the episodes. We're probably over 150 now.
See,
Easy. So it's one of those things where, well, yeah, we got to do a lot of stuff for the podcast, but I think that's more stuff to do, right? Like if you're trying to grow your show, grow what you're doing, like yeah, you can. And that's the thing is that it's like raising the bar for ourselves or for yourself, and just knowing that, well, if you want to be on the A tier, like, well, let me backtrack. So let's go C tier. I'm not going to do S tier thing. I know that's a gaming thing. I'm just going to do regular alphabet. All right. I would love to do S tier, but I'm not. But so you will say C tier podcast is you just show up, record the episode, run it through the editor, post it. That's C tier. That could be doing a lot to you. That could be doing a lot. Post an episode on YouTube or whatever. Do that. That could be a lot to you. But then you look at your podcast and you look at whatever you're producing consistently, you be like, man, nobody listen to this thing. We record, we do all this work, we prep, We do all this other stuff. Like we doing a lot. I feel like we're doing a lot. We record the show. Nobody listens. Clearly, that's why you're on C tier, and you're not doing enough. I'm serious. Like these are the things we look at. Joe,
Yep.
do we not look at the analytics? Do we not try to make the like everything is an iteration on itself? Like we try to make the presentation of the show better. We try to make the editing better. We look at the numbers. We like, well, why didn't this perform well? Do we need to do something else? Is there something else that we need to do? So it's like, yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff, but it's not enough because
Yep.
it's whatever goal you set for that's really it, Joe. You helped me come around to the conclusion. It's whatever the goal that you have for yourself. What are the actions that you need to take to get there? That's enough. Until wherever you get there, you're just doing a lot, right? But like when you've hit completion and you reach that goal, that's when you've done enough.
So I guess with that being said, so when you think of doing a lot, um, that's more so geared around people that are pretty much shooting shots up in the gym without no technique per se. So like when you're doing enough, you have the technique, you know what I'm saying? You ain't shooting over your head or nothing like that. You know, the ball's right in front of you, you know, you got a nice little arc, bending your
Yeah.
knees. Yeah, it's a jump shot, man. So
It's it's like there's this I don't know if people know who Nick Young is. Played the NBA for a while.
swaggy
There's
P.
like this, yeah, Swaggy P, right? There's this video of him, like he shoots a three, right? And he thinks it's good. You see people do this all the time. You shoot it, but then you start to celebrate before you even see if the shot went in. And this one, I don't know what did he do? Like he shot it, turned around and like took a knee. And it was like this is something that he just what does he do? Airball the brick or whatever.
You know,
But it's kind of like that. Like you shoot the shot, but you don't even follow through to see if you really hit the target. That's really what I'm saying there. But I don't want to suck up all the time on the show, Joe. So I'll give
hey
you some.
man, hey, this is your topic. So hey, you know, I'm letting you do what you do, man. Um, so when I think of like doing a lot, man, I don't know. Like in one aspect, you can think of like doing a lot as like a perfectionist. Like, what if there's somebody that just has to be everywhere and has to have control of everything? You know, haven't you ever met some of those people, or you've been part of someone that's part of your leadership where they're micromanaging the hell out of you and about like three or four other people just because it doesn't look the way they wanted to, because they take it, the pressures of what powers may be like upper level management of like looking at it, like coming down on them. Like, you know, like there's different type of management styles out there where it forces managers or supervisors to micromanage other people just because, you know, you might have a solid team, but your team is not where they need to be as far as being able to deliver in the way that, you know, upper level management may want to see. And that happens. But I guess you can tie that to leadership, but that's how I look at like doing a lot, because there are those people out there that just say, you know what, I ain't even going to ask no questions. I'm just going to get this done. And don't let them have an attitude with you, but they don't really tell you what the problem is, or they even try to help you do it because they spread themselves so thin. They don't even have time to really teach you this stuff. So what happens? It's just a revolving circle until they don't even deliver for real, just because they're not, delegating the work or gaming people up properly to actually deliver. And that's ultimately what their position should be or how it should be done. But, you know, some people just don't get it. I know you want to say something.
I'm not. I'm not. For my safety. For my safety, I'm not.
So,
But
so I'm making sense, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's
My
fair,
safety.
man.
I'm not saying that. That's all. But the one thing, Joe, if I a couple minutes, but
Go ahead.
but the like as far as productivity, right? Because this is one of the things is understanding the impact of the actions that you're making. And like some people, I think you suffer you suffer from you create the illusion of activity, like you're actually doing something that's moving the needle. And I think about like a student who they just like to be like take courses, but they don't ever do anything. Like they don't do anything, or they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna start this business," but then they never like it never amounts to anything, or they're like always like doing something. I'm trying to think of somebody who always has something going on, but they never like their life was like it's pretty much always I'm taking this course, I'm doing this thing, I'm doing this, like I'm doing it, but there's never anything tangible that comes behind it. They're just like a student who creates the illusion that they're actually doing something. So like I work guaranteed, if somebody clock my hours, I guarantee on average work 80 to 90 hours a week between work, my business, like the investments, the stuff, doing the podcast, like all the stuff that I work on, easy. And I'm not proud. I like to say every time that I'm not proud of that. I like to get it down to 60 to be honest, but it's a reality for me right now. Now, that being said, you should be able to, if I tell you like a year from now that I'm still working 80 to 90 hours, you should look at, I know, I mean, people already been looking at me crazy for the past couple years anyway, because I've completely checked out from like regular life stuff. I just kind of lock in, but you should be able to look at me and be like, Marcus, you've been working like 80, 90 hours for like 2 years. What do you have to show for it? My portfolio better be looking real nice. Podcast better be doing better. Like we better have some digital products or something going off with some sales going. My writing needs to look a lot better. I should have more opportunities as far as doing some of that thing, like doing some of those things. So there should be something tangible in return for the amount of hours that I'm putting in to like work, a business, my investments. You should be able to see something, right? But we all know people who's like, yeah, I work all the time, 60, 70, 70, 80 hours, I work 100 hours. Like, no, you're not. Like, or you might be, but what's the quality? What's the quality of those actions? And what I'm saying is that you should be able to, like, you should be like, Marcus, you working a lot. Like, you need to show me something because otherwise you just playing around. So it's one of those things. And that's how, like, that's really how I see it, you know? And I think that if we can kind of just create, like I said, there needs to be a goal attached to the actions. So we're just not out here just like, yeah, hustle culture, 100 hours, man. I made it like I'm good. No, you're not because you don't have anything to show for it. It's just glorified. Like you're glorifying the sacrifice of having to work all those hours. Like you need to have something to show for it. And that's why I don't think it's something to brag about that I work. Like I'm not proud of that I have to work like this, you know, but it's necessary. So, but I think that's just a good example. But Joe, I'll let you close out, man.
Yeah, before we close out, man, all I have to say is this, man. No pressure, but I'm gonna remember what you just said, man. And I'm definitely gonna ask you a question so I can determine whether you did enough or you was doing the most. I ain't gonna say a lot, doing the most, you
That's
know.
fair, man.
But yeah, man, there's a lot of people I know that put in a lot of time with whatever they do professionally. You know, that's how people make their bread. You know, they ends meet. And why would you not put the most time into where you're getting the most resources out of? So common, it's common sense to put all your effort into your work or your craft so you can gain as many resources as you can out of it. Like you're saying, if you're not really getting a return on your investment, you know, eventually at some point you're gonna have to pull the hell out of there, or you just gonna burn yourself up, man. You know, you burn out, and that's something you definitely don't want to do because say you've been doing this gig for X amount of years and now it's no longer good where you're obtaining any kind of funds or any kind of enjoyment out of it. After that, man, what's next? So, you know, you got to always kind of keep your head on a swivel in a sense of that. So when you think things are starting to turn on you, you know, it's when you got to start looking in, exploring other options if you can, if you got it left, if you got something left in the tank. So that being said, man, I hope you guys like and subscribe. We appreciate y'all for viewing the episode, man. We're gonna keep cranking them out. Check us out on Instagram on Scripted Dreams _ that's where you can find our account. It's got our logo on there and everything. We even have a LinkedIn page. So you can find us on Scripted Dreams. So yeah, just check us out, man. Follow us, tell a friend, and make sure that other friend tells a friend too. Peace.
Yeah, so